Hey, I'm Sour and I make videos with hardstyle production while pretending this doesn't hurt my actual hardstyle production. And today we are in part A and also the last part in our series for total beginners with no experience whatsoever. Let's go. Breaking your love. Today's episode is honestly really exciting because we're going to talk about something that I've never talked about on this channel before. We're going to talk about mix and master, what the difference is, what you should expect, and some common mistakes people make when they get into music production. First of all, the difference between mixing and mastering. Mixing is the stuff that you actually do in your project file. So that is like everything from like adjusting the volumes to like selecting different sounds to like using effects to make the whole thing feel better. And mastering is the final process of getting your exported audio and making it as loud as you can get it, pretty much. I'm of course kind of oversimplifying it because there is a bit more to it. Like it's a very subtle art in and of itself. But mastering is essentially just making it up to loudness and making sure that it plays well in playlists with other tracks. A good mastering won't make a bad mix good. But a good mix can be made awesome with great mastering. But before you can do any of that, you just need to make sure that your product is actually ready. So today we're gonna finally like add some like little details, make it a bit more organic. We're just gonna put the dots on the i's pretty much. We're gonna do some final mixing. And then I'm gonna show you the basics of mastering. Every day is this. I kinda wanna break free. So to make this a bit more dynamic and make it feel less robotic, I'm gonna automate stuff. And with stuff, I mean random knobs, honestly. So I'm gonna go to the breaks, like there. Every day. I'm gonna look at the instruments. We have like this plug. And plugs are honestly great to automate. So like, for example, if I use the cutoff there. If you move this over time, you get a great variation of different sounds. Like subtle differences. But those kind of make the whole thing work better. I'm also gonna make a small intro to it, so I'm gonna move it to there. Get just like a first part of this. And this might be enough, or I may need to like make an actual separate thing for this. You can make it longer, you can make it shorter. I like to keep it kind of short because honestly I just like energetic arrangements. I'm gonna select this part and I'm gonna automate the ARP over that thing. So I'm gonna go to the cutoff, right click, create automation clip. Draw some dots in this and kind of like draw some lines in this. So the intro like needs to be like way quieter. I'm gonna make it slowly more energetic. So roughly there, build down. This is gonna be our ARP automation, and this line actually does a couple of cool things. So the intro is like very much like a nice fade in. It starts kind of subtle underneath the mix. Then before the actual instrumental and like the break gets more intense, it pulls back for a second and then it kicks in. And this pulling back and kicking in, you'll see everywhere in the mix. Like you can see, there's like less drums there. There is less drums there. And like there with the build-up as well. Less stuff there right before stuff kicks in. That makes your impact feel a lot more impactful. If you give a bit of silence before the storm, a bit of breathing room before you actually start punching, you get a much more powerful punch. Keyboard, I think I'm gonna automate just a couple of filters, and you can do that a couple of different ways. You can like literally grab a fruity filter or whatever, or you can just grab an EQ and kind of like make your own filters out of it. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna press random frequency. So for example, this could be nice. Could be nice, right? So automation clip, right click, copy value, because I don't want this to like lose its high end like throughout the entire thing. And I want that to be restored right around there. But for the intro, it could be nice to like pull it down, right? So like this, for example. Let's add one more thing to the break because it kind of feels a bit too empty, I think. So let's grab another flex. Yeah, let's use this one. Ooh, this is nice. Just following the bass line. Yeah, this could be nice. Just a nice plucky bass and like a fun thingy in the middle. And I'm gonna send this to the mixer and I'm gonna make it more into the background because it is a lot with everything else going on. Maybe add some reverb and like kind of like get the dry gone. to soften it out. Maybe. Hell yeah! Bit of distortion always works, and then maybe a bit of a high cut. And now we can talk about mixing. For mixing, this is too much. Like right now it is like this in the same space as the vocal. So we can either move this around so it's not anymore in that same space. Maybe like this, for example. Maybe I can filter it more. Maybe I can make it a bit more to the side as well. Sorry, that's left, right. This is middle, side. So middle, side. That also helps a bit with like moving stuff around to make sure that stuff doesn't really get in each other's way. Cool. Okay, let's make this a bit more smooth as well. So what we did for the lead there, that also works for the vocal. So let's grab the first bit of the vocal there. Let's go to the vocal reverb. There's already Edison on there. That's not the vocal reverb. That's the vocal reverb. So like this. Let's record. Let's stop the recording and drag it in. The reason why we record on the vocal channel, like on the reverb channel of the vocal, so right there, is because this way you get just the reverb with not like any hint of vocal in there. So this is just the reverb. So if I now normalize this to make it louder, like we can work easier with that, reverse it and go to generic bleeding. We can like cut to right there, that first like big hit, and we can just drag this in front of there. And it's either gonna be like a smooth transition, or we're gonna like leave a bit of a gap in between. Yeah, I prefer this. I'm gonna send it to the mixer somewhere, let's say right there. It's a bit of too hard cut, so I'm gonna just add some reverb to there. Some part in there kind of reminds me of Zeke and Luther for some reason. If you know why, please tell me, because I'm drawing a blank. But it clearly does remind me of that. I'm not sure why. So mixing wise, this is pretty nice, but the plugs in there kind of steal the excitement for me. So I can do a couple of things. I can try to move this around to make it more exciting, so maybe more high end could be nice. That definitely works, but I also want some bounce in there. So I'm gonna add a fruity balance. I'm gonna loop 1/4 measure, so like this. I'm gonna go to the balance. I'm gonna pull the mix level to 0, so it's not affecting anything else. I'm gonna right click, automation clip, and on this balance I'm gonna go to the volume, right click, automation clip. So we've got 2 of them to worry about now. This first one we're gonna drag to right there, so a bit earlier to have a bit of a nice reset point. Drag it up there. Go like say to there. Put a point there, and let's drag this down so we don't have anything to worry about right there anymore. And a bit of straight stuff to play with for peace of mind. So to the actual volume thing, we're gonna go for a nice pumping effect. So I'm gonna drag these, right click, copy value, and then paste value in the middle. So that's like a nice neutral volume thing. I'm gonna drag the start and end roughly to maybe there. Make it kind of smooth, right? I'm gonna push this down. And the second half kind of pumps up the jam. Just gonna copy paste this automation clip for the entire thing. So might be a bit too aggressive actually, but that's fine. Like that's why we automate stuff. Maybe drag it down even more, make the curve more gradual. Actually, let's go to the bass. Let's add a balance to there, like there. Let's send the mix level to link to controller, balance mix level, right there. I'm gonna set this volume to balance volume from the other one. So right now they do both the same thing. Sounds like ass, until we get a kick and just paste it on every chord measure like this. And for the bass in there, I might need to like make it fit to there. So this is the bass, I think. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go for sustained notes. So like this. Or I can also go for like the actual kick and bass kind of thing, like this. Actually, just to keep dynamics going on, I think I'm gonna go for the first half sustained and the second half like with the half step. This right now feels weaker, but I'm gonna add more drums to that part and it's gonna be all nice and funky. And maybe a nice ride or whatever, that could also be fun. So let's grab a nice ride somewhere. So let's see, drums, cymbals, rides. I'm not sure. If I'll survive. Got you. Just messing around with stuff right now. So I feel like this first half should be just be smooth. So this balanced mix level is gonna get its own automation. So link to controller, we're gonna go to none. And we're gonna automate this ourselves. And this is some weird note thingies going on. So I'm gonna enable mono legato because if these notes overlap, it's gonna sound like it normally kind of sounds like S, but with the mono legato turned on, you can play two at the same time, and it just sticks to one, which is a fun effect. Mixing is mostly just spending way too much time on like getting the volumes right and just playing with that in a very subtle manner. And like maybe, for example, if your plugs are too bass heavy, you're just gonna filter them out. So for example, with this, to kind of get it more exciting, for example, you can go to this and you can kind of like boost the high end a bit. Get rid of this mid end. Maybe like get a low cut in there. Or just like playing around with it to kind of manipulate it until it fits in the mix. That's mixing. Like it's kind of sad, but there are no real secrets to it. So keep that in mind. Like it's not as exciting as you think it is. Maybe reuse these sidechained chords. Not in the first half, maybe in the second. Hell yeah! Imagine you're actually done with your project, right? So in this case, like as I said in the start of the series, I'm not aiming for a good end result. Now I'm just showing you all the processes, right? And I might need to do a series where I actually like focus on the song itself, but that will definitely be more of an advanced series. But imagine you're actually done with the series. You do Ctrl S, of course, the entire time. Now we're gonna look at the volumes, because right now if you play this, it's touching the zero all the time, which is not a good thing. Like if you want to master, you need to have some space between your actual full loudness and the zero, because after the zero you can't really do much. You need headroom to work with in your master. It's easier to like boost stuff up later than to try to fix it and make it go down again. So for doing that, what you're gonna do is you're gonna select everything except for buses. So everything where channels come together, you're gonna select. So with the vocal, it's a bit of a pain like this. Then we're gonna go to all the leads. We're gonna skip the lead bus. Also not gonna touch delay or reverb. We're gonna go to there. We're gonna just select everything until we're all nice and happy. And now we're gonna drag stuff down. Drag it down like this. And you wanna drag it down ideally until this doesn't really go over the zero anymore. So you're over the 6 or over the 3. Like this, for example. Problem is, we made sure that the drop is now underneath that. But this intro is way too quiet. Like this is -21, -18, whatever. To get that more equal, to make the entire mastering job way more easy, what we're gonna do is we're gonna select all the break elements, so like this, and the vocal, which is a pain in this case because there's so much of it. And we're gonna boost that up. I feel like I can push the leads and the kicks a tiny bit more just to get that contrast between like break and lead a bit heavier. So like this, just boost this a tiny little bit, like this, for example. And now we probably need to drag everything down again, just to make sure that it stays underneath the 6 or the 3 or whatever we're aiming for in this case. Like I kind of forgot, don't blame me. Or blame me, I'm making the video. Like if there's one person to blame, it should be me, god damn it. Yeah, sure, let's assume it's cool now. So for exporting stuff, you can do a couple of things. the real basics, you're gonna go to, like, first you're gonna select the range you want to do. So like double click in this and select the range. So if you have a mix intro, for example, you can filter that out by just doing stuff like this, right? In this case, we want to do the whole thing, but not with this intro. So you can either like trim this a bit and make sure that it actually starts right there, like with this, or you can just select the range again. So like this, we'll probably do that as well. So file, export, and I have a lot of options. In general, you want to export as MP3. So if you want to send stuff to friends or for producers for feedback or whatever, go to MP3. It's a smaller file size, and technically it's not the highest quality, but just export as MP3 if you want to send this to anyone. If you want to export it for like full release or whatever, like for example for YouTube or for SoundCloud or for Spotify, you're gonna go for WAV. WAV is a much bigger file size. It's also way more detailed. And for example, if you want to do a collab with someone, you're gonna export as WAV, because if you want to stretch it or whatever, MP3 starts to fall apart, but WAV will have a bit more flexibility with that. In most cases, MP3 is fine, but in this case, we're gonna master it, so we're gonna go for WAV. So you're gonna go to WAV, you're gonna find a folder where you're gonna place it. So in my case, I have this folder where I just leave all my work in progress stuff. And we're just gonna go to save, and then you're gonna go to start. Now it starts to export it, and it might take a while, and now it's exported. So we're gonna go to your folder where you left it. We're gonna find our file. I'm gonna drag it into FL Studio, and I'm gonna show you how mastering works. So this is our final song, and I'm gonna just drag this up so you can see what we're doing. So this is gonna be our song. Like, you can tell a lot about a song just by looking at this. Like, you definitely want to aim for like a kind of low dynamic. Like, you don't want this to be super quiet and this to be super loud, or vice versa. You don't want this to be super spiky. Like, if you see a lot of like little spikes like sticking out, that means that you didn't get rid of enough transients, and that happens by declicking. So for example, if you don't do this, like with the slope there, you get like nasty little pops all over the mix. So just make sure to do that, and that will get you a way cleaner waveform. So to master this, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna let's do it in a separate arrangement. So I'm gonna go to arrangement. I'm gonna do add one. I'm gonna call this master. And we're gonna paste our song in there. Again, with mastering, you really want to aim at making your song as loud as you can without making it suck. That's the only thing you're doing. So a really simple way of mastering is first like getting rid of stuff you don't need. So an EQ definitely helps. Getting rid of the low end and the high end is like the first step. So like this, make a very nice flat curve like that. Drag it to there, and same for the high end. But like on the other side of the EQ, like this. And this just gets rid of stuff you don't really need. This makes your final mix sound a bit cleaner. FL Studio has this thing, and it's super confusing, and it's called patcher. And patcher is a way to kind of like save your mixer chains and make them more complicated. And we're not gonna dive into that like in this video on how to make your own stuff, but there's a preset in there. So if you go to this arrow, click presets, you can find under Ulean mono bass. And this is a lifesaver. It's one knob, and if you go to the map, you can see like how confusing this can get. You're gonna click on an EQ so you can see what the fuck you're doing. I'm gonna go to surface and I'm gonna move this knob. And you want to move this around, let's say 100 and 150 hertz. So like this roughly would be nice. Like right now it's 135, that's fine. Now what this does, it makes everything under this mono. So you know that mono stereo, right? Stereo is super wide, mono is in the center. And for your sub from the kick, you definitely want it to be in mono. And that way it gets way more stable in like bigger systems. So just do this, it's a lifesaver. We're also gonna add a last plugin. And our last plugin is gonna be a Fruity Balance, and we're gonna drag this volume down by either minus 0.2 or 0.3. The reason why we do this is we're gonna make this loud as we can, but with this we're gonna take just a tiny little bit off of the final export. And that makes sure that if you upload it to Spotify or SoundCloud or YouTube or whatever, those platforms compress music on there if it is too loud. That's a bit of a prevention for like amateurs, like if they just upload shouting volume 1. So they have like this very aggressive limiting after a certain threshold. That threshold tends to be like minus 0.2 or whatever. If your song gets like that to that loudness, it will be compressed way more when you upload it, and thus it will sound different on those platforms than it will do in your final export. And now for the actual mastering, it's mostly compressing and limiting, and just boosting the living shit out of it. So we're gonna get a Fruity limiter. I'm gonna keep it simple. This limiter is just gonna like be a failsafe. Like this makes everything as loud as it can get without push the gain a bit. We're gonna add a, let's say a Fruity compressor. We're gonna play with the threshold, the ratio, and the gain. I explained in the vocal mixing episode, but the compressors are pretty simple. Your threshold decides from what volume level it is allowed to act. Your ratio decides how much it's supposed to act, and the acting, what it does, based on how loud something is, it starts to like push it down. Let's say your threshold is like -9, and your audio peaks over with, for example, 6. It presses it down, but not too much. If it spikes over with, let's say, 0, then it starts to press it down a lot more. And you can decide how much more with the ratio. Like all the way up, it's just gonna like level it to whatever you set there. This to me sounds fine. We're gonna add one more thing, and that's multiband compression. Multiband compression is like a compressor, so like not really complicated, but times 3 or 4 depending on how many bands there are. So let's grab a Maximus. Let's see, where is it? FL Studio has 2 multiband compressors built in already. One of them is a Fruity multiband compressor, and honestly I just don't like how it works. Like the interface just, it feels alien to me. I don't like working with this. Like that's just personal preference, of course. Like it's probably a way better plugin than actually Maximus, but Maximus is like super visual. I don't know, I just feel better using it. So Maximus, it's right there. And with mastering, like keep in mind that you're doing very little. Like you shouldn't really be coloring the sound with this. You're just making sure it gets as loud as it can get without sounding weird. And speaking of like not coloring the sound, we're gonna add one EQ just to like kind of like see what we're doing, and also kind of like to tweak if necessary. But again, very minimal stuff. I think I'm gonna thin out the 200-300 Hz region a little bit. And that is because a lot of mud lives there. Like the more frequencies like pile up between 200 and 300 Hz, the more unclear and muffled your song starts to sound. Like if you oversaturate this, not a great sound, right? So just kind of like thinning out slightly definitely helps. It's better to do it in the mix, but I'm gonna do it in the master right now because I didn't do it in the mix because I'm stupid. Like this definitely like doesn't sound as nice as if you do it in the mix, like before you export it to the master. I'm also gonna subtly boost the bass a bit, like very subtle. Like again, like we're working in like 1-2% maybe, right? But right now it's pretty even, which is good, but I didn't bump the volume yet. So to bump the volume, you can do it in a lot of different ways. You can use like a empty compressor with just a gain knob, and actually that might be the cleanest way to do it. So honestly, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add one more Fruity compressor. We're not gonna touch any of the knobs, so it doesn't really do anything. Like ratio is not gonna do anything. Threshold is 0 dB, like it shouldn't even go there. And we're just gonna push the gain until we see it like flat out to the 0. And with mastering, what you should do, you should focus on the entire song, not just on the drop. Like I've been doing it right now because I'm honestly distracted because I have to talk around it. But you need to listen to the whole thing. And right now it sounds overcompressed. Right now the breaks are a bit too loud. So what you can do is you can just bring it down a bit by, for example, like getting the ratio a bit more subtle. Every day is the same, but I don't wanna complain, it's the name. Mastering is a bit of an art. Right now I'm doing a very quick and especially dirty way of doing it. Like this is not necessarily a great way to do it. I'm just showing you the basic steps of it. Keep it in mind. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to our bus thing, and like you can do it either before or after this balance. I'm gonna do it before. I'm gonna add one more balance, and I'm just gonna automate this volume knob. So create automation clip. I'm gonna copy this loudest part, copy value. I'm gonna zoom into this. We're gonna paste it right there, and you're gonna paste it, let's say, right there. Now you're gonna bring this down a tiny bit. Like you don't want this to be too drastic. Bit of a sharp curve there. And this makes your drop hit a little bit harder. So once you're done with your mastering, like let's assume that you like this right now. File, export, WAV. Let's make a nice folder for it, for example. And let's call this beginners mastered. Export, whatever. You're gonna export it, and then you're gonna see. And this is our final mastered version of our song. So you can see what this automation did. It is just thinning out before the drop, and it's honestly a great way to make your drop hit a bit harder. It's a bit of a dirty technique, honestly. So this is our end result. But before I am allowed to show you this, I should inform you that I have a Discord server where you can find hardstyle producers and other people who should go outside more. And they're all like focused on helping each other, and it's honestly a great and really fun community. If it sounds like fun to you, if you want to meet more people that make music, go there, check it out. It is definitely worth your while. It is a link in the description. Hope to see you there. I also have a Patreon where you can find full uncut versions of every video in this series, as well as project files for, again, every part of this series minus episode 6, because I kind of forgot. But if you want to support me, that's a great way to do it. If you want great sounds to work with, and you have, for example, Serum, I just released a new Serum bank with a lot of cool sounds, and you will see it pop up in my channel very soon in a lot of different things, because I'm honestly stoked about this. And with all that being said, it was a pleasure to be your host once again, until we meet again.
Every day is the same, but I don't wanna complain. It's the name of the game, even if it can be lame. Every day is the same, but I don't wanna complain. I kinda wanna break free every day. I gotta write songs for you, please stay. I'm not sure if I'll survive, I just need to feel alive.